we have our panel with us? Or I guess that's it. Okay. We shall resume shortly. Okay, we shall resume. We are on item number 15. Before us, the panel has applicant's materials, revised site plan, floor plans, elevations from 22 September, photographs of trees on the property, submitted 9 June. Email correspondence from the agent, June 24 and September 23. And email correspondence from Ravina Natural Feature Protection from September. There is email correspondence also from Urban Forestry, also from 17 June and 27 June. And a staff report from Community Planning, 29 September. And there is a letter in opposition from 191 Chaplain Crescent, Trish McMaster. Okay, so let's ask the agent to join us, please, by stating your name.
Pedram, you've been unmuted. You can go ahead. Pedram, you've been unmuted. You can go ahead. Mr. Chair, I'm going to try to give me a call.
Please.
Can you hear me?
Oh.
Ah. Yes, speak up, please, and state your name.
Good afternoon. My name is Pedro Manov, the architect presenting the application.
Good afternoon to you. Very good. Okay, I'm just going to check with panel members to see what their preference would be here. Panel members, you can have a presentation, or if there are any questions to go directly to the applicant, go ahead, please. I'm not hearing any questions. There's no request for a presentation, so anyone on panel ready to move forward with a motion?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Chairman, I do actually have a question. I thought that I was
yes.
going to wait.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, is that my question is, do they have the support from the two adjacent neighbors? It doesn't seem that they have any support. I see I see opposition from Chapman Crescent, but can the applicant tell us?
They were informed and they were in support of the application, but not in, we haven't got any written response from them. The only opposition is from the other side of the pathway from our property.
Yes, I'm going to ask you to comment on that. There was an opposition letter from Trish McMaster at 191 Chaplin, and the essence of her concern in that letter related to the FSI, which she points out is 0.79, where 0.35 is permitted. So that is a large variance. Could you comment on that variance, please? Why the panel should consider that variance to be desirable and minor? Go ahead.
Of course, Mr. Chair, of course. The number you are seeing, it's based on the 3-story building. The 0.35 indicated on the zoning bylaw is not about the 3-story building. The 0.79 is the average number between the previously approved FSI by the Committee of Adjustment, which is somewhere between 0.71 to 0.84. In this area, because we are allowed to have the 3-story building, the FSI is always significantly over the requirements of the zoning bylaw.
Thank you. Okay, I do understand. I do understand that. That's good clarification. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions for the applicant panel, or if anyone is ready to move to a motion? Ms. Valentini, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That was the question. I was concerned about the FSI, but I am satisfied that the agent has indicated there have been prior approvals of 0.71 to 0.84 in the area, and you know, it looks like this will the proposal will be somewhat similar in size to other houses in the area in any event. So in my view, I am in support of this application. I think it'll fit in within the neighborhood, and I don't have any concerns with it. I did note that planning had a condition in terms of it being the front elevation be it constructed substantially in accordance with the plans dated September 22nd, 2021. In terms of, I think they lowered the front wall so the roof was exposed, and I think that helps mitigate in terms of massing. I'm happy to bring forward a motion for approval unless my colleagues want to jump in on anything. No, so I will bring a motion forward for approval of the application. It's going to be subject to the condition that I just referred to that's set out in the planning department report.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, okay, I'm so sorry. I actually read some of my notes. I'd like to ask the applicant a question about the removal of the oak tree. There was some discussion from the urban forestry about that tree. Is that issue being resolved?
Okay, we actually did have a motion put forward there. So you want to go back and ask a question about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I missed that. I have a note for that question. I'd like to know whether.
Okay.
Can I answer the question?
If
Yes,
you
please.
can go ahead quickly, please. Yes.
Sure. The red oak you mentioned is not going to be removed. If you look at the correspondence from the RNFP, as dated September 15, you will see we propose to keep that tree and it's going to stay as it is.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's been
Okay.
resolved. Thank you.
Okay. So
That's
where
my
we are
question.
is there is a motion proposed by Ms. Valentini to approve, subject to planning. Is there a second to that motion? It is seconded by Ms. Chan. So moved and seconded to approve, subject to planning. Those in favor? Show of hands, please. And motion carried, application approved. Thank you. And we move along to number 16. Number 2, Preston Avenue. On number 16, the panel is dealing with applicant's materials, revised site plan, and other plans dated 28 September, an arborist report, and there are presentation materials from the applicant, including a map of comparable properties. We have staff reports from community planning and also from urban forestry. On this application, just to confirm with you, moderator, we have one speaker registered.
In addition to the agent, yes, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Okay. In that case, we'll ask the agent to join us, please, by stating your name.
Hi, good afternoon. It's Glenn Rubinoff, representing the owner, Rubinoff Design Group.
Good afternoon to you. You'll have 5 minutes to present your application to the panel. Please go ahead.
Okay, if you'd like a presentation, so this is an application for a new home at 2 PRESTEIGN Avenue. It's a corner lot, and there are variances related to the setbacks, some wall heights, and coverage. We did this, the design of this house. We had a look at the area. We worked within comparables of what people have redeveloped lots, on the street and in this area. We've also spoken with community planning, who supported the application subject to some conditions of some permeable materials for the driveway, and planting a tree, and imposing or putting a privacy screen along the west edge of the second-story terrace. Urban forestry, it involved moving a small tree, so there was actually no negative impacts. We have an application with them, and they're just asking for verification of the committee approval to move forward with the permit on it. So my client's spoken with neighbors about this and has received no negative feedback. We did our research in the area, and that's what the map that we provided kind of goes through and shows comparables and such with the lot coverage, with wall height and such. So I feel this application is a pretty, I would say, straightforward application, considering the fact that it's a corner lot. There's setbacks to the corner. There's a large boulevard. So even though there's variances related to the side yard on the Denville side, I feel its impact is minimal to the neighborhood, and I think that this application is appropriate development for the site. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's go to the speaker that's registered and ask that speaker to join us now, please, by stating your name.
The name is Steve Lahosotiros. Can you hear me?
We do hear you, Steve. You're with the panel now.
Great, thank you.
And Steve, you've got 5 minutes to address your concerns to the panel.
Wonderful. Okay, so when we looked at the application, we we want to be fully supportive of people wanting to build the home of their dreams, and we respect the people to make changes to the building code within reasonable limits to the variances. However, as we look at this in greater detail, we see that there's about 13 variances noted on the proposal, most of which we don't oppose as much as we would oppose the expansion as it pertains to the property to the south, bordering our property, which is number 4 Pristeigne. We look at the existing dwelling. If you look at the building on site where the arrow shows the dwelling as it exists, we're moving south by approximately 2.35 meters from what I can tell as it pertains to the sketch of the drawings that the architect provided. If we couple that with in addition to the added deck, and again, I'm going based on the architect's drawings, which are to scale, I assume, we're looking at an expansion of 6 meters. That's to the south of the existing dwelling. But we're going to be going up 9 meters, 0.12, I believe, in height, which is a variance of 0.62 meters in height. If we add that to the 2.35 meters that we're building on top of the current structure, that is almost 20 square meters of lost sunlight as far as we're concerned. That we have serious concerns with shadow issues and fresh air issues with the dwelling as it expands to the south. It has a severe impact on our backyard, and it doesn't allow us to enjoy the east as much as we've enjoyed in the last 30 years, because we've been living here since 1993. So we really lose a great deal of the sightline as it pertains to the eastern part of our property. If you add, in addition to that, the expansion of the deck, which is going to go further south another 4 meters, that coupled with the 2-meter expansion of the dwelling is nearly 6 meters in expansion to the south. And if you look at the space between the existing dwelling as it sits today and the shed at the very end of that property at number 2 Pristeigne, that impacts 42% of our sight lines to the east. 42%. That's a significant alteration to our sight line in the east. We lose sunlight, there's shade issues, there's airflow issues. We also lose our ability to enjoy the privacy in our backyard, because a 4-meter deck, overlooks our property, and we feel that impacts our right to privacy in our backyard as well. Last but not least, we have a pear tree that's been sitting on this property for over 30 years. It's got a sentimental value because my dad planted it when he built the house in 1993. And that will not have the ability to grow if that deck is expanded to where it's expanding based on the design. If you look at the deck, it's over 4 meters in length. It basically interferes with the tree's ability to expand and grow, and we feel that that's another issue that we do have a problem with. So we do have issues as they pertain to, as I mentioned, massing, airflow, right to privacy, and enjoying the backyard that we used to enjoy, for the last 30 years. Because, as I said, 42% of that backyard now will be occupied by a deck to the east and a new dwelling that's going to be over 9 meters in height. So again, we have concerns with respect to massing issues.
Thank you.
That's it.
Steve, I want to ask you something.
Yes.
The pear tree that you mentioned,
Yes.
you're concerned about its future health. Where in your backyard is it located?
So if you look at the where the line that says 2.5 feet, right there, where your hand is, right there.
Okay.
There's a little bit to the right. There's a round circle.
Yes.
Just
yes.
where the two.
Yep.
That's correct. That's exactly where the pear tree is.
That's the pear tree. Okay.
Yes, that's the pear tree. It's been there for 30 years. And like I said, it has a sentimental value. We're just also concerned with the fact that once that deck goes in there, how that tree will be able to flourish and grow.
Okay. Does your pear tree it's pretty close to the lot line, does it overhang into number 2?
It does, yeah, it does. I can't say it doesn't, but now so currently the way it sits, it overhangs into lot number 2, but because it's a bungalow and it's been rented for the last I would say 7 to 8 years, no one's really had an issue with the overhang. It's been allowed to flourish and grow on its own.
Okay.
But, you know, as I said, the deck itself is over 4 meters in length. And if you add that to the 2-meter expansion of the current dwelling, that's 6 meters for us. So it's a considerable, I guess, decline in what we're able to enjoy looking eastward towards the sun, because that's where the sunrise is. And, you know, we've been enjoying that for the last 30 years.
Understood. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
I do have a question.
Another question for you, Steve, here.
Right. So, hi. I just, because there are quite a lot of variances we are looking at here, and I just want to be more specific. You have concern of item number 1, building length. You have concern about the deck, which I believe is the item number 10, a platform without main walls. And that probably trigger the permitted floor space and also the lot coverage. You think that's basically the items that were, you know,
Yeah, that pretty much summarizes it. Yes, as I said, it's the deck, it's the expansion, and then the height as well.
I just want to kind of convert what you described into the actual variances that they're asking for. So you're okay with the height or everything, but just the length of it. So, last question: have you got a chance to speak to your neighbor or the other side, just to get a sense of what they're thinking about the building length and the deck? Did they give you any response?
So I've spoken really to people that are facing the property, and some of them do have problem with the windows overlooking Denvale. But again,
No, I mean
it's not.
I mean the owner of number 2, like the applicant. Have you spoken to them about your concern about the length?
So with number 2, the owner of number 2, we spoke only about the driveway and how he was proposing to change the driveway with bushes or shrubs or little small trees. We didn't really discuss the length of the building.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then let's then at this stage go back to the applicant to allow his opportunity to respond to these concerns from the next door neighbors. Now, applicant, the concerns relate to impact on sunlight, creation of excessive shade, airflow, sight lines being blocked. Size of the deck is of concern in terms of the overlook issues it will have. And also a general concern that the result of the variances could lead to massing of an undesirable kind. So I'll ask you to address those, please, in your rebuttal.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to go back to the setback issues, the concerns. The existing home right now, at number 2, is at the same setback more or less as what they proposed is on the west side, and we were following that line, and so it's a 0.73, which is comparable to the neighbor's setback of 0.86 for part of their home adjacent to the property line. In terms of length, building length, the actual length to the back of the 1-story breakfast area is 18.95, which is the variance. The actual length of the building, the 2-story portion, is actually 17.58 meters, which is 0.58 over the bylaw, which is just under 2 feet. So just to, and that's for a portion of the house. The portion further to the east, it's actually under 17 meters. In terms of the the deck off the back, it follows the line of the home. I don't believe that I understand the concern about the fruit tree, and I don't believe there's any ill regard towards it. I mean, obviously we'd like to maintain trees that we can through this process. It's on their property, and we obviously won't be going onto their property, but trimming, there might be some trimming involved, but that's about it. I'm not sure that it would necessarily cause a major impact on it. In terms of sightlines, again, you know, we're encroaching about 0.58 meters beyond the length of the two-story portion. I'm not sure that the sightlines as of right versus what we're proposing would be significant. We are addressing a corner property, so the roof design is such to provide two front elevations effectively, one facing onto PRESTEIGN and one onto Denvale. And as such, the shape of the roof is very much guided by that. If I can point out that there's a portion of the roof which the majority of the roof is below, it's around 8.8 meters. It's just a small triangle portion towards the center of the roof that takes it above 9 meters. But it's really about the shape of the roof and the shape of the building to address the corner elevation, because the front entrance is focused on the Denvale Road side. You know, I understand the concerns presented, but I do feel that they're not, you know, going to create a big impact on the neighboring property, considering, you know, we're following the lines of the existing home that was there, and also there's a large boulevard on the Denvale side. The setbacks are really to the bay windows, the projections, that the majority of the home on the west side are at 1.52 meters. So, I do feel that staff did look at this, and their comments about sensitivity was to provide a privacy screen to maintain privacy with the neighbor, and also planting a tree, and with regards to any concerns related to drainage, putting in permeable pavers as a way of offsetting that. So I'll leave those comments there if there's any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there questions, applicants, or pardon me, panel members? Any questions for the applicant? Hearing none, I'll ask if anyone on panel is ready to go ahead with the motion, please. Is anyone ready? Ms. Chan, would you like to go ahead with the motion?
Okay,
Yes?
I go ahead since we're waiting for comment. I have looked at all these variants. Actually, the majority of them are quite minor. We're asking for very little, 2, 3, 4. Not 2, but 3, 4. And also the major concern of the neighbors is that about the length, and as it explained, it's only a portion of it is exceeding the allowable length. And also the orientation, although they might lose, as the neighbors say, they might lose some sunlight from the east, but it's basically all south. The back is south facing, and I think that they can still enjoy a lot of natural light. So I'm in support of the application, subject to the planning report condition, 3 conditions, and also forestry condition number 3.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I just want to make a comment, or
Go ahead, Mr. Chang.
like I'm honestly okay with most of the items. I just have some concern about the deck.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's my motion, I would motion to approve all items except the deck.
Okay, so there's an amendment proposed, Ms. Chan, to approve the application minus the motion which relates to the size of the deck.
Right.
And
the reason for that is the privacy screen is not going to be helpful here. It would be just creating more blockage of views and sunlight to the neighbors.
So, what variant is that if you're going to not allow that is what number?
I believe it's number 10.
Number 10. Does that mean that they can still build a deck just to have to meet all the bylaws, right?
Exactly. That's right.
I see. It's the setback. You're thinking about the.
The depth of it and the impact of that is pretty significant, but the massing of the property is not.
Yeah. So you suggest to refuse 10, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I can get your support for the second motion, I will agree to that.
Okay.
Okay.
But
Okay, then.
we have to listen to Lisa.
Let's ask Lisa.
We-
Okay, I sorry, oops.
Go ahead, Ms.
Am I
Valen.
still there? Sorry, I just touched a button. I thought I disconnected. Not to make things confusing, but I was just rereading all the variances again, and variance 13 says a corner lot with a semi-detached. I'm assuming that's a typo, right? Because this is not semi-detached, and that's the correct.
Yes, I think you're quite right.
Just-
I picked that up and
It
then.
caught my eye just
it
now.
slipped,
I
yes.
picked it up earlier, but it just.
That's a good catch.
Yes, I believe you're
And
quite correct.
I'm hoping we have the right section of the bylaw. So anyway, I throw that out there.
Let me just bring that to the attention of staff. Do you see number 13? There's a reference there to a semi, and the property, either as it is or as it's proposed, is not a semi.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we can make that change. It's a typo.
Okay, so that change is going to be made. It's simply as a typo. Okay.
Okay, I just want to point that out. I didn't know, I don't want to be granting the wrong variances and then they have to come back for something.
I'm so glad you did.
Sorry?
I'm glad you pointed it out.
Okay. In terms of the second story platform, I am fine with having that removed as well. I think the screening may address some of those issues, but I see the concern about that screening and the proximity to the neighbor, maybe creating more of a dense volume. So if you guys are sure that's the variance that needs to be eliminated, I'm in support of that. I have no issues overall with the bulk of the application. There's a lot of houses down the street that are similar style to this one, so I'm supporting removing the upper floor deck. I just want to make sure we're capturing the refusal of the correct variance. So I don't know if we need to speak to the agent about that, but that's
Okay.
certainly-
So we're looking the amended motion now would approve the application with the exception of minor variance number 10. And as far as I can tell, reading the variances, number 10 can be refused without altering anything else. I'm just checking with the Deputy Secretary Treasurer on that, but it looks to me okay. And certainly the deck was of concern to the neighbor in a very large way.
It
So-
says east side yard. Is this the deck where, isn't the rear deck located in the south of the property?
Yes, south side, but leaning to east side, towards the east side of the property.
East side porch. That is strange, I gotta say. East side yard setback. Should that read south?
Well, maybe there's probably another porch at the front, right?
At the rear yard, we can say that is the rear yard balcony. But you delete number 10, that's it, right?
We're looking at variance number 10, and we're in the final line. It refers twice to the east side porch, which We're
You
wonder-
can see that
Thr-
on the front and rear elevations.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm looking at the zoning notice. I believe it pertains to the covered porch and stairs that are fronting Denvale Road.
That's right.
Maybe on that we could put that drawing up.
So if you go down one more, I believe. One drawing down, there's a roof plan. So the next one, I guess, roof plan is after the second floor. Yeah, this is the one. Which if you hand up a little bit, so you can see the front. Yeah, that's where you see a terrace over here.
Okay, well that's,
You
yeah,
put
let's make
privacy
sure.
screen here. That is a huge, gigantic mess.
But that's not the concern of the neighbor next door. His concern relates to the deck at the rear. The covered deck at the rear, not to the covered porch on the side. So,
Thought that was the same.
is the covered deck at the rear, is it triggering a variance or not? Let's
I
determine.
think that is the one at the back because of the orientation of the building. That's my understanding. Is because the architect used the same orientation when he prepared the roof plan and the site plan. So
Yeah, we've got south at the top of the drawing.
Ms. Chen can help me on that. I believe that's the deck has three sides. One is facing Danville, one is facing the backyard, one is facing number 4.
Correct.
Because the main entrance is at Danville, so therefore the front elevation is facing Danville.
I'd like to go back, I'd like to bring Mr. Rubinoff back in for a minute. And let's get some, see how he can help us clarify this. Mr.
Hi.
Rubinoff, can you join us, please?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, so I'm looking at the variance is referring to the side setback of that rear deck, of that rear covered deck. And it is referring to the required east side yard setback. Now, which is the Denvale side. And the required is, may encroach into the required side yard setback 1.5 meters. And provided so closer to the side lot line.
Because your front of the building is facing Danville, right? Not,
Well, by definition, the front is pristine. The front of the lot is pristine,
But
well,
when
the narrow side. So
right,
that's,
right.
yeah.
But the way you design a house is facing Danville. So for
Yeah.
that reason, if you look at the plan, even though that deck is on the left side or right side of the building, but it's actually the rear by definition of the zoning bylaw.
Yes.
Mr. Rubinoff, do any of the variances relate to the covered deck at what I would call the rear of the property that is up close to the lot line and the neighbor's pear tree and so on? That covered deck, is it triggering any variance or not?
From what I can see here, it's not triggering any variance. Not according to the zoning review that was done. This was a zoning review. The only one that I can imagine is that the side yard setback 1.5 would be imposed. If there's that going forward, if they missed that side yard, I believe it would have to be pulled back to 1.5, which we're amenable to, of course. But that
So
would
could
be,
you tell me, yes, could you tell me the platform in item number 10? Which platform is it?
it's the rear platform. It's the one that says covered deck. It's the one behind the one-story rear extension. That's the only deck it's referring to. But, you know, encroaching too, I,
Oh, I see.
Okay, so, but by the sound of it,
I'm not sure number 10 will address, I'm not sure that the removal of number 10 will address.
well, let me ask you, Mr. Rubinoff, does number 10 relate to the covered porch on the east side with a walkway to Denvale, or is number 10 relating to something different? What does number 10 relate to?
One point, you know, it may very well relate to the porch on, facing onto Denvale, that entrance. I believe that's what it's referring to. I don't think it's related to that deck in the back.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's referring to the no closer to a lot line than 0.3 meters, and that would be, you know, we've got just a covered area over there. The steps and the walkway are on that west side, on the east side.
Okay.
The east side porch.
Okay. All right, fine. I think, and I don't think that.
It's addressing. Yeah, I don't think it's related to. I think it's related to the side porch there, actually.
Okay, so.
I'm sorry, I disagree. If you look at the wording, even your rear deck, which Aaron trying to point out, your setback, you still require a variant because your setback is only 0.73.
Right.
Or or the most, or the that's 0.92. You still need it, right? Because your setback should be 1.
I believe it has to be at 1.5. That's correct. But I think that if the zoning examiner didn't catch it here, we'd have to pull it back to 1.5, which would pull it away from the neighbor by right. You know, I think you're right.
I go back to what I said before. If we're in favor of eliminating 10, they can still build a deck, which means that they only have to comply to the zoning.
Yes, that's right. That's correct.
But maybe a smaller deck, not so.
That's right.
Encroaching into the setback by so much. So.
That's
Right.
right.
Yeah.
You would have to comply with the setback. That's correct.
And I think that's what I hear panel members wanting to do, that they don't want the deck going tight up to the lot line. They don't, or close to the lot line. They're satisfied with the setback on the house itself, but they want the deck to be brought back.
So modify what I said is to tie in with a deck that doesn't require variance.
Pardon me, Mr. Chang? Do you
I
mind?
don't know if it is necessary because the deck will have to meet the variance anyway. It was not called out here.
Yes. What I was going to say is number 11 is dealing with the porch at on the east side, the exterior stairs on the east side. So I think number 10 is related to the rear deck, and I do believe that if it's refused for number 10, we could build a deck, but it would have to comply with the side yard setbacks.
Okay, so your interpretation, Mr. Rubinoff, is that 10 does relate to the rear deck, the covered deck.
Yes, because number 11 relates to the side one.
Okay. All right then. So to come back to where we were before, and the actual motion that is before us now has been seconded, is to approve the application minus number 10. And that's the motion that is before us. And I think that for now, back to number 10 applying to the rear, then that would satisfy the concerns that Mr. Chang raised, and that I think were echoed by Ms. Valentini. So, let's try that motion on, and first of all, let me ask, because there's some, are the panel members in agreement with me that that's what we think number 10 is about? Ms.
Okay.
Chan?
Yeah, I will do the motion again. I will move a motion for approval, subject to forestry condition number 3 and the planning conditions plus refuse of variance number 10.
Is there, okay, that is the motion which is actually before us. Now, is there a second again? Once again, is that motion seconded by anyone? It is seconded by Mr. Chairman. So there is a motion seconded before us. We need to vote on it. Those in favor of that motion, show of hands, please. That motion is carried unanimously, and the application is so approved. And the committee moves on to number 17.
Thank you very much.
Number 17 is 19 Bloor Street West. Here we're dealing with applicant's materials, applicant's cover letter from the agent, and commenting reports from transportation, dated June the 1st and June the 8th. And on this application, we'll ask the applicant to join us by stating his name, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Solly. I'm the agent for the applicant. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay.
We hear you very clearly, Jeff. Thank you. Okay, and we're just going to ask the panel members if they have any questions for you on number 17. Ms. Chan, go ahead.
Oh, just a very small one. For variance number 1, you required to provide one accessible parking space, and you said you cannot. Can you tell us why, please?
Yes, I can. And if the person, yes, like that, the site plan will be perfect. That's perfect right there. As you can see from this site plan, the building effectively covers the entire property. So there is no room for any parking at all. This building was built in the 1940s. It's been altered over the years, but fundamentally remains the same. So if we were to provide any parking, we would have to remove a portion of the building. And in doing so, we would effectively no longer need a variance because it's only the 20-meter additional gross floor area that's highlighted in the gray tone that is triggering the need for any variance at all.
I agree with you, because when I look at it, it's not even, you do not even have any curb cut existing anyway, right? It's not.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I was just surprised they actually asked for that. But
So am I.
I assume the addition and the building will be accessible, right? The design
Correct.
accessibility. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. If there are no further questions, is anyone ready to move to a motion? Ms. Chen.
I can move a motion because I think it's a straightforward addition, and then it in the area it is the use is very is inconsistent with the area, and I move for approval. And I do not think that any condition there will be no conditions.
Thank you. Second to that motion? It is seconded, Mr. Cheng. Moved and seconded to approve without condition. Those in favor, show of hands. Motion carried, application approved. We move on to number 18. 101 WINEVA. And on 101 WINEVA, we do have the late arriving correspondence from Sarah and Derek Wheeler at 97 WINEVA. We also have the applicant's materials and correspondence from Transportation Services. Okay. And on 18, we'll ask the applicant to join us. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Mike De Oliveira. I'm here representing 101 WINEVA, and I'm with Replacement Design located at 911 Davenport Road.
Hello, Mike. Okay, thanks.
Hey.
Okay. On 101 WINEVA panel, any questions for the applicant? If there are none, is anyone ready to move to a motion? Ms. Valentini, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did note when I was looking at the plans that there's currently a one-story rear addition on this property, and I know it's being replaced, but the property does have an existing addition. I believe the proposed addition will go back slightly further, but I noted that there were no comments from adjacent neighbors except for the letter of support you just mentioned from a neighbor 2 doors away. I think this will fit into the neighborhood. I don't have any concerns with the variances requested. I'm prepared to bring a motion forward for approval and without any conditions.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion? There is. Mr. Chang. Moved and seconded to approve the application. Those in favor, show of hands, please. Those unanimous vote carries the motion, and it
Thank
is
you very much.
it is approved without condition. Number 19 has been deferred, so we move right along to the last item on the opening chunk of applications. Number 1, Schofield Ave. And on number 1, Schofield, these materials are before the panel. Applicant's materials. A photograph of a tree on the property submitted by the agent. Covering letter from the agent, 23 May. A variety of Committee of Adjustment decisions from the past, from addresses in the area. And there's email correspondence from Heritage Preservation. Okay, we shall ask the, on number 20, we'll ask the agent to join us, please, by stating your name.
Good afternoon. My name is Greg Papp from the Robinson Group, and I am the agent for the owners.
Good afternoon. Okay. On this application panel, number 1, Schofield, do you have any questions for the agent? Ms. Chan, go ahead.
Just one quick one. In my material, I did not see any sort of update from the Heritage Department. They said that they just review them. Have you got some update that they satisfy or anything?
Agent, did you get that question?
Yes, as far as I know, I have not received any correspondence from Heritage Preservation.
Oh, yeah. In my material, I only saw it from the communications that they said they will review it. I guess it's designated, you probably have to apply for permit anyway, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So, okay, thank you.
Now, I'd just like to add that there is late correspondence too received very recently on this application. There is a letter in support from Jonathan Drake and Devin Boyd at number 3 Schofield, which I guess is next door. So correspondence in support from them received 1st of October. Okay. So panel, if there are no further questions, we're not asking for a presentation. Anyone ready with a motion? Ms. Valentini, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In terms of this rear addition, I just noted the way the lot is situated. It's the proposed proposed addition, in my view, won't have an impact on any of the neighbors. The neighbor at, I believe, number 3, there's a garage that abuts that, so I don't see that having an impact because the garage is already there. And then the other neighbors on Roxborough, there's a garage for the neighbor at 108. So I don't see any impact for this addition, in my view. And we've been provided with some comparables for some of the variances requested for floor space index. So I think this will fit in with the neighborhood. In my view, I think it'll meet the 4 tests. I did note that the side addition is going to be behind the existing garage, so there's no concern with that. And I did see the email from Heritage that says they don't have a concern and they may provide comments. So since we don't have anything else, I think we're good to go. I don't think they have any issues. So based on that, I'd like to bring a motion forward for approval without any conditions.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Ms. Chan. Those in favor, show of hands, please. Unanimous vote carries the motion. The application is approved, and with that, we wrap up the first 20 applications. So, we are actually scheduled for a 2 p.m. start on the next group of applications, but we are that much behind. So what we'll do is we shall recess now for a 1-hour period to come back at 2:50 p.m., 10 minutes to 3, and we'll be starting then with number 21. And I'll just check with the Deputy Secretary Treasurer.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we could do a 45-minute break.
We can do 45
Yeah,
minutes?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we will go with 45 minutes, which would take us until 20 to 3. So we shall resume at 2:40 p.m., 20 to 3 on number 21. Now in recess. Thank you.